It's all this space right now.
You're going to hear, this is going to be a funny sentence. I just spilled sparkling cider on my fanny pack. But also, for those of you who might care what button I'm rocking today, Boomhauer, baby.
Boomhauer.
Boomhauer. Boomhauer with a banjo. All right, so I want to talk about a couple things before we get too serious today. You guys comment below and let me know if you've watched Justice League. And if you did watch it, what you thought about it. I watched it all in one sitting. Well, that's not true. I got up to go pee. But I watched it without pausing it. Like, I watched it all the way through, and I've set up something nice and special for our talk about Justice League. I absolutely hated the fact that it was in 4:3.
It was really annoying.
Listen, I'm not trying to brag, but I got a really big TV. Not the biggest TV, right? It's not like 85 inches like some friends of mine have, but I got like a 70-inch TV, and it's nice. It's a really nice TV. And I turned on Justice League, very excited to see this, and it's in this aspect ratio. It looks like this. Your TV looks like this. The movie looked like this. And I don't have anything queued up to show you what the movie should have looked like, but basically take those black bars from right there and put them on the top and bottom. That's what it should have looked like. And I read an interview. I didn't even tell you this. I read an interview that said that the director was like, oh, it was a creative decision. We were going to put it on IMAX. Now, this is the shape that IMAX is, but I was like, it was a money thing.
Okay.
He had it edited this way, ready to go into IMAX theater, and then he chopped it up, and they didn't have the money to spend the money to chop it all up again to put it in the format for your TV or for widescreen. So that was...
I guess that makes sense. I'm not too mad about it. I would have liked to see it in IMAX. That'd have been cool.
Yeah.
It would have been worth it then.
Well, sure, and I bet when things are kind of back to normal, maybe we'll get the chance to do that. But then again, will we? Because are they gonna actually play 4-hour movies? I mean, not that has never happened.
That's true. I think the longest movie I saw in theaters was Return of the King, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I mean, that was a long one. Well, listen, if you don't have any idea what we're talking about, what happened was, and this is the simplest retelling. I'm obviously going to leave out some important details here, but one person wrote and shot and directed a Justice League movie, and then basically his daughter died, and through a bunch of series of quite unfortunate events, he was pushed out of the project and or left because of his daughter's death. Real sad, real tough. No criticisms for that whatsoever. But someone else took over the movie and basically reshot 90% of it, used about 10% of the guy's footage. But the crazy part about all that is that this guy had already shot a whole 4-hour movie. And they ended up releasing this other version, and we thought we were never going to see this 4-hour version. And all of a sudden, because of the streaming service that HBO has, they were like, well, let's just drop it on HBO. And they did. They dropped it all at once. And thus far, the reviews for the movie are 1,000,000% better than the other one. So if you just take the reality of that happened, you already have such a large conversation for such an unprecedented thing. There's a long history in Hollywood of films being canned and taken over by someone else. You may or may not remember the Solo movie was shot. I don't remember their names. Maybe somebody can comment it below. But they were the guys that shot the 21 Jump Street movies.
Oh, okay.
They're two dudes, and they're known for just like the best comedy ever. And so they hired them to make Solo, and then they were like, you guys aren't making a Star Wars movie. You're making a comedy movie. You're fired. And they got Ron Howard to finish it. And now we have no idea what the footage from those first guys looked like. But Solo kind of bombed. I mean, it didn't bomb, but it didn't do as well as they needed. And it wasn't really super great. I mean, it wasn't super memorable. I liked it enough. But, there was not enough outrage that Disney was like, well, we'll just put the original cut online. But that happened with this Justice League movie. So if you've been walking around the world and in your peripheral hearing people talking about Justice League, that's the gist of what happened. Has anybody had anything to say about it?
Someone said, Kristen's Nostalgia Toys said, decided it was worth the investment for HBO Max. It was well worth it. They had a lot of great shows and movies. So
Agreed.
A lot of people just got HBO Max, us included.
Yes, well, that was kind of the other thing. And that's why I made the joke about the 4:3 aspect ratio, is that we downloaded it. I downloaded it on the way home. Or I signed up for it, rather. I didn't download anything. I got home, got on my PlayStation 4, downloaded the HBO Max app. We sat down with our dinner. I think we got
Panda Express.
Panda Express
Yes.
to watch with our Justice League. And I turned it on, TV looking like this, mind you, and I got this. And I immediately paused it on the first frame and stood there for 15 minutes while my food got cold, looking at the settings on HBO, because I thought for some reason my PlayStation 4 and/or HBO or some combination thereof was messing with my TV. It was like, I'm going to play this all, because like every time you download a new streaming service, you got to figure out how to turn the subtitles on and off. You got to figure out how to do these things. I thought my TV was messing up, but no. This is how they shot. This is how the movie was, like this.
So frustrating.
That's the only reason I'm complaining about it, because it just threw me for a loop. It really wasn't that bad. 10 minutes into the movie, and it didn't look any different than this. But we did the same. We downloaded HBO just to watch Justice League, and we did. But I'm kind of thankful for it because there is a lot of other good stuff that's on there. We immediately binge watched Chernobyl. Which
oh my gosh.
We both liked a lot, but it was heavy.
It was. I want to watch it again now that I've seen the ending of it, so that I can rewatch the bit where all the things went wrong. And then, figure out, who's lying, what's actually going on here.
It is a really dark one. So if you downloaded HBO or paid for HBO just to watch yourself some Justice League, try to give Chernobyl a shot. It's a historical retelling of what happened in Chernobyl, the explosion. And it's not a terribly long series. I mean, we binge watched most of it that night.
Yeah.
And finished the next 2 episodes the next day. But we're gonna probably keep it for a couple months. Binge watch everything that's on HBO that has to be watched, and that's gonna be that.
Yeah. Someone said they didn't love the slow-mo in Justice League. How do you feel about that?
The slow-mo. I bet they're talking about the Jason Momoa water rushing over him stuff. That's probably what they're talking about. That it was cheesy, but it's not cheesy in the worst way. It's cheesy in a way where you've got to decide how you're going to suspend your own disbelief. I can understand some people were into it, but I don't know. It's always hard to talk about cheesiness, lack thereof, or too much of in comic books because, I mean, have you ever read a comic book? None of that stuff doesn't exist in the comic books. But I don't know. Have them comment below. Comment below. What slow-mo are you talking about specifically? Or were you talking about how the Flash ran in slow-mo when he was in super speed?
See, I was super used to that because we just binge watched the rest of the Flash series, and they used that a lot.
Right, which is a huge rabbit hole. We watched the whole TV's Arrowverse Flash show in way too little time. We watched it straight through.
It was rough.
But overall, I liked it. But more so, I like the spectacle of what happened. I like the idea that a lot of directors in the past have had their projects changed. As someone who's worked in a lot of video productions, a lot of movies, I have a huge history working on films. I really feel for some people that I know personally that have had their films changed or, sometimes really lightly, just in really specific ways. Like the studio says, oh no, you've got to take this actor out, put this actor in, and reshoot those scenes. But sometimes it's as drastic as, no, you're out of this project. We're going to reshoot it without you. Your film can go die on a hard drive somewhere. I love the fact that it came to light and that, we got 2 movies out of it. Because, the first one, I don't know, some of you guys can maybe tell me if you liked the original cut of the Justice League or not. I won't say I liked it or hated it, but I found it utterly unmemorable. I've watched it 3 times now since it came out, and I still don't. I can tell you 100% more about this newest cut. Of course, it's fresh on my mind, so maybe that makes sense, but I just can't tell you anything about the original cut. It was just bland.
Honestly, yeah, there was a few scenes in the new cut that I was like, oh yeah, I do remember this from the first one, but I didn't even remember the storyline, who was the villain and all that stuff. You had to keep filling me in, oh yeah, this is what happened in the first one. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the other thing. I definitely am going to have to watch it again, which kind of sucks because it's 4 hours long, and I only had 1 4-hour block to spare this week. But I need to go back and watch it again because the whole first watch, I was just in my head remembering how maybe that's some extra dialogue that wasn't in the original cut. But at any rate, I'll just cap off Justice League talk by saying I watched it. If you're on the fence about it, it's worth the weekly or monthly subscription. However, I was not aware that the monthly subscription was going to cost so much. We've not paid for a lot of subscriptions in our life. We, of course, got Disney Plus to watch all the Marvel stuff, which we can get into next because the next day, Falcon and Winter Soldier aired, which is, back to back. It's tough. Too much emotion, you know what I'm saying? But it's worth it, but it is a lot of money. I thought all subscription services were like $10 or less. I'm clearly wrong about that. They're all like 15 to 20. But I think it's worth it. Watch it, and then we'll talk about it a little bit next week. Because this is spoiler free. We're not talking about it much. I'll probably say a little bit more about it on next week's live show.
Yeah.
Just because there's some other parts, plot-wise, that, having been someone who's read comic books when I was a kid, I read comic books during the era that some of these stories come from. Batman's more based off Frank Miller's Batman. There's a lot there I'd like to talk about. We're not going to give you spoilers today, though, because we got plenty of other things to get into. But
how do we get into a spoiler-free talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier?
I know exactly what I want to say. You should definitely watch Falcon and Winter Soldier. Comment below if you watched any of that. Tell us what you thought. Here's all I've got to say about Falcon and Winter Soldier. I was entirely distracted the whole time I was watching it. Do you know why?
Why?
Can you guess? I mean, I told you. I don't know if you remember.
No, I don't remember.
Sebastian Stan. I saw a meme a couple weeks ago that was joking about Sebastian Stan. He's the guy in all the Marvel movies with the metal arm that's kind of frenemies with Captain America. That's a very, very loose retelling of who he is. I saw a meme suggesting he looked just like Mark Hamill and that he should play Mark Hamill in the Mandalorian series. And
right, I remember this conversation.
And now that he's cut the weird long hair, well, spoilers, I guess, if you haven't seen the previews, he cuts his hair. His hair's gone. He looks just like him. Like, oh my God, why didn't we do this already? Why is he not now Luke Skywalker?
Well, you see, he's got that dark hair. And so it's
you
like,
can say
it's
it. He's beautiful. Like,
he's very beautiful.
I would lick his face.
I watched him in Once Upon a Time when he was the Mad Hatter, and I was like, oh, hello. How are you?
I watched that when it first came out. I didn't know it was him. I just choked on sparkling cider.
Don't die.
It's good. He looks. You could definitely look at his face and go, all right, put some long, thin, brown hair on him. That's not like that emo cut he has.
Yeah.
For the whole run of the Marvel movies, he could definitely 100% be Luke Skywalker. And if they're not already planning on that, they've just messed up. I think someone on our Discord, as soon as they turned it on and it looked like this, they converted the HDMI signal out of their TV box into their CRT and watched it on their CRT.
That'd have been so good.
Yeah, which, I kind of giggled about it and thought about it, but I was like, I'm not going to get up and get all those cables out and do that. But it's just so goofy. I mean, it's what a waste of my TV screen space. I watched movies like this in 1995. We don't have, listen, and it's cool to get your VCR out and put your old VCR tapes on your CRT and watch them like this. It's such a nostalgic way to watch them, but we don't need to go backwards.
No, we don't.
That's all I'm saying. Did anybody watch it?
A lot of people did watch it and are very bummed that there was only one episode to watch.
That is frustrating because didn't they did 2 with WandaVision up front, didn't they?
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I was bummed that there was only one as well, especially since we just took a week off without a new Marvel show. I will say this though. I think my biggest praise for it isn't even about the show. The show is going to be fine. They've got their Marvel characters figured out. I'm excited about the prospect of having a new hour of Marvel once a week for the rest of forever, because that looks like the way it's going. Because as soon as this is over, I forget exactly what's next. If it's Loki, I think maybe there's something in between. But they've got a Loki show. They've got a 10 Rings show.
I'm excited for the Loki show. I'm a big fan of the Loki character, and I think the thing that is getting me feeling like it's starting a bit slow or like I'm not super into it yet is that I don't have that investment into the character of Falcon or Winter Soldier.
That's true.
It's just not punching it for me yet. I want it to, don't get me wrong.
Right. Well, the problem with previous Marvel TV shows before all this was that they had to separate it. They would tell little jokes and go, hee hee, the big green guy, and not say Hulk, you know what I mean? Or just weird stuff like that on the TV shows. And of course, the budgets are lower, so that is a bit problematic. That, you're watching a Marvel movie that costs $500 million and you go home to watch it on, watch the Marvel TV shows and they made an episode for $100,000. This introduces a problem where you just can't suspend your disbelief enough to watch that Marvel show with all that other Marvel movie stuff in your head. So obviously they figured that out. Nobody watched WandaVision and said, this is not the Marvel universe I know. Mostly because it didn't look like this.
Yeah.
It looked more like this. But it's good enough that they're going to keep going with it and keep that quality up. So that makes me really happy, because I did, before WandaVision ever came out, I spent an entire month with all our TV consumption just being rewatching everything Marvel.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it, not just because I like Marvel comic book stuff, but I enjoyed it mostly because there was so much to dive into. There was such a huge universe and all these films. I think I'm going to enjoy these shows even better 10 years from now when I go back and binge watch it all. I think that's my biggest takeaway from now that we're on to a second Marvel series. I'm really feeling that. I'm glad there's more.